Welcome to another live brand training session with me. So let's do a quick little recap of yesterday, and then we're going to go and dive straight into the topic that I want to teach you guys on today, which is what it means to actually embody your brand. Okay, and this is a really massive topic. I believe we need to talk about more because this is where, oh, I just sucked my hair into my mouth. This is where we start to talk about having integrity in your business, and truly showing up in alignment as who you say you are, like is who you're actually being. Okay, so we're going to have a big conversation about what that means to really embody your brand today. Now, I do want to do a quick little recap because yesterday I did a training which really opened the doors to this conversation. And what I spoke about was the 3 stages to building a badass brand. So if you missed that training, go back to my feed. It's saved there so you can check that out. But to do a quick little recap, there were really 3 key steps to being able to create a badass brand online. The first step was doing a brainstorm and actually getting clear on what is the concept of what you want your brand to be and really starting to actually piece together that vision that you have. And again, like these are the 3 stages that I walk all of my clients through when it comes to building out their brand designs for them. Welcome, everyone. So great to have so many of you jumping on. So the very first step is that brainstorming stage. Now, if you don't really know where to start when it comes to doing a branding brainstorm, and this step is so important because if this step is not done properly, then that is going to feel the effects here and here. Okay, so it is so important that the brand brainstorm is done first and done properly to ensure that the following 2 steps are also executed to the highest of your abilities. Now, this first step up here, the brand brainstorm stage, this is something that I'm actually teaching inside the Brand for Bali Masterclass. So that's a charity workshop that I'm running tomorrow morning. So if you actually want to go through every single step in the brand brainstorming process and step away within an hour having a complete brand concept built out, I am running a charity workshop on that. So just comment the word Bali on this live stream or send me a DM and I'll send you the full details of that. But 100% of the proceeds will be going to charity. So it's a really great cause to get behind, which I'll talk more about later. So stage 1 is obviously doing your brainstorm. Then once your brainstorm is done, it's moving into actually creating a refined design. Okay, too many people I think make the mistake of jumping straight into the design, like trying to create a refined design for their brand without actually properly doing that brainstorm. And then what ends up happening is they find they've created this design, they've put all this time and energy and effort into it, and they aren't fully feeling aligned with how it's all come together or what the finished product is. And so with that, if the brainstorming process isn't done properly and you haven't gotten clear on the depth of psychology and reasoning behind all of the design choices, then of course there's going to feel like there's that misalignment with the design that you do come up with. So this is again why the brainstorm stage is so important before moving on to the design stage. Now, the design stage is really all about refinement and polishing off and really finalizing a toolkit, which you can then be using for your brand when you then go into stage 3 of integrating and embodying. Okay, so when we talk about integration, we're talking about actually merging your design into your socials, into your content, really having it come through in everything that you do. And so there's a big point that we are going to speak on with that in today's live stream, which is this embodiment piece, okay? The embodiment piece when it comes to embodying your brand is so incredibly important. And the reason, like I touched on a little bit earlier, is because if you are not a true embodiment of the brand that you're putting out there, it's like you're playing dress up. It's like you're playing dress up, and your audience will feel the dissonance between you and what you're saying or you and what you're doing, because the reality is energy does not lie. And if you are not a true embodiment of your brand, then that is going to come through in everything you do. So maybe you feel some sort of resistance, right? Maybe you're putting Maybe you're putting some content out there and you're feeling some sort of resistance or like it's not getting enough reach. Well, these are all signs that maybe you're not a true embodiment of the message that you want to share, the mission that you're on, and the brand that you're trying to build. Because if you're in true alignment with what it is that you are putting out there and who it is that you're saying that you're being, then you're not going to feel that misalignment. In fact, you're going to feel a lot more ease and flow, and things are just really going to work, right? So if you are not in embodiment with your brand, then some signs of that are going to be resistance. There's going to be resistance. There's going to be, let's say, low engagement. Energy is going to be off. Okay, that's a big one. And like I said before, if your energy is off, your audience is going to feel that. Your audience is not going to resonate with that, right? So lack of resonance with your audience, a lack of audience resonance. Okay, so obviously we don't want to be sitting in this place. We don't want to be sitting in this place where we're not a true embodiment of what it is that we teach or who it is that we say we are, right? And what I mean by this as well is being an embodiment of your brand does not mean dressing a certain way and saying that, oh, I am now that person, right? Like I said before, it's not about playing dress up. It's not about, buying some fancy clothes or some fancy shoes or some jewelry just so that you feel like you are someone else, right? It's about coming down to actually checking every aspect of who you are and how you show up and who you are being, and making sure that you're in true alignment with all of these areas. Yeah, sure, the way that you dress and the way that you show up every day, like on an aesthetic level, is a form of embodying your brand, but it goes so much deeper than that. It goes so much deeper than the superficial. It goes so much deeper than just the colors or the fonts that you're putting on your social media or the way that you're doing your hair or your makeup every single day, right? So yes, when it does come to embodying your brand, some of those components are how you dress, speak, act, be. I don't know if you can see the green very well, but some of those factors are how you dress, how you speak, how you be, who you are at your core. We've got values, right? What are your brand's values? And are you truly embodying these values that you say are a core component of this brand that you're building? Do you even know what your brand values are? Or is the branding work that you've done only as superficial as picking the colors and picking the fonts, right? And picking the aesthetic that you want people to see? So if you know some of your brand values, I want you to drop them in the comments section. I want you to share them with me. For me, some of my brand values are authenticity, trust. What else do we have? Freedom would be a brand value of mine, but I like to focus on, let's talk about authenticity and trust, which are like two really big brand values of mine, right? So when we talk about authenticity and trust, it's like, okay, for me to say these are my brand values, what does it mean for me to actually embody those? Well, it means that I need to show up as my truest, most authentic self. I can't be hiding myself behind a facade of who I want people, who I think people want me to be, or how I think people want me to show up. It means I have to be really, truly sharing my voice in my most authentic tone, sharing my opinions as loudly and proudly as I possibly can. Right? So when I talk about authenticity, and I think this word authenticity gets thrown around so much, particularly from like brand gurus and, content creator gurus and all of that. They talk about be authentic, be authentic, be authentic. But what does it truly actually mean to be authentic? What does it truly actually mean to build an authentic brand that is in deep alignment with who you truly are? And I'll use some of my content as an example. I like to put out content that's really, obviously there's high value and high education content that I put out there, but I also love to put out the kinds of content that ruffles some feathers, that's very polarizing and sharing very bold opinions, right? And that's very authentic to me and my brand. Now, I'm not just putting on that voice or saying those things to get likes and engagement. No, I am saying those things because that is who I am outside of my business as well. That is who I am. If you're talking to me on any day of the week, that's how I'm going to be. And this is what it means to embody our brand. It means to ensure that there's congruency between who you are off camera and who you are on camera. Right? That's a really big point that I want you to take away from there. And a really big question I want you to think with. Are you acting in integrity offline, behind closed doors, in the same way that you are when you're online on social media? Is there congruency between those two versions of yourself? Are you the person that you are showing up as for your brand on social media? Is that who you're also embodying when you're offline, when no one else is watching? Here's a good example. Maybe you're a mindset coach, or maybe you're a fitness coach, or maybe you're a business coach, maybe you're just some coach of some sort, and you talk a lot about discipline, and you talk a lot about being disciplined to certain habits and to doing certain tasks and to following certain routines, right? But offline, you lack discipline. Offline, you're not showing up in congruency to what you're telling people on social media or what you're telling your clients inside of your coaching containers. And that right there means you are not embodying your brand. That means you are in this side of the scale, right? Because what you're doing online is not in alignment with what you're doing offline. And we see this a lot in like the health space. So a great example of this is doctors, right? And this was really highlighted to me when I made friends with a doctor through a coaching program that I'm in. And it really became clear to me how so many doctors are not embodying what they preach, right? So let's say, for example, you go to a doctor. How frequently do you see that doctors are overweight? They're not healthy, they're not actually fit. They don't prioritize working out, or you can tell that they actually don't look after their bodies, right? That is a key example of someone who is not embodying their brand, right? Because the brand of a doctor is health, wellness, life optimization. But yet, majority of the time when you actually go to a doctor's clinic and you're being looked after by one of the doctors at the desk, it's not embodied knowledge, right? They know what they're doing. They know what they need you to do, but they're not embodying. They're not embodying what they preach, what they teach. And so this is where, again, like, you want to be checking yourself. What is it that your brand stands for? What are your brand values? How do you show up on social media? What is the facade that you're presenting yourself as? And let's be real, a lot of social media is a facade, right? A lot of social media is just branding. So how can you really stand out in a world where people are getting better and better and better at faking and putting on a facade? Well, you can stand out by being a true embodiment of who it is that you're showing up as, who it is you say you're being, right? You can show up knowing that all aspects of your life, you are practicing what you preach. You don't need to be perfect at it, but you're practicing what you preach, right? And that is how you begin to become a true embodiment of your brand. And I'm telling you right now, that energy is felt so deeply by your audience, so deeply. One thing that I have always received as a piece of feedback from anyone who's ever attended my in-person events is that they truly feel and see that who I am online is who I am offline. And that is evidence. When you receive that feedback from someone else, that is evidence that you truly are and a walking, talking embodiment of your brand. And here's the thing when it comes to brands, right? Your brand isn't what you think your brand is. Your brand is what your audience perceives your brand to be. So you might be telling yourself, yeah, I'm an embodiment of my brand, or my brand is this, my brand is that. But actually go and ask someone else. Go and ask someone from your audience to give you that feedback on, what do you feel my brand represents? Do you feel I'm an embodiment of my brand? And that is the true definition of what your brand is. Your brand is not what you believe it to be. Your brand is what your audience perceives it to be, right? So we've covered some stuff here. If you guys have any questions, drop them into the comment section as we go through. But I feel like that was everything I really wanted to cover in this. And I cannot express enough, guys. I cannot express enough the importance of embodying who it is you want to be and what it is you want your brand to be perceived as. And so if there's anything I can leave you with from this live stream, it would probably be an opportunity of reflection, an opportunity to step away from this live stream and actually ask yourself the question of, am I a true embodiment of the brand that I am creating? And sit with that, reflect on that, actually get clear on that. And if you can do a bit of an integrity check, right? And so what an integrity check when it comes to your brand looks like would be writing a list of all of the things that you say your brand is, all of the things that you talk about, all of the things that you teach, everything in terms of the way that you believe your brand's voice is, the values that your brand has. And I want you to go through and I want you to make a full list of absolutely everything that you believe your brand stands for and you believe that you are creating through your mission and your brand and your vision. And then go through that list and actually check yourself. Put a tick next to every single one of those points that you're a hard yes for embodying. Not like sometimes, like you are a hard yes, day in, day out. You are consistently embodying that thing, right? Because we don't want to look at the wishy-washies. We don't want to say, oh yeah, every second day or maybe 2 times a week I embody this. That does not count, because that is not a true embodiment. That is an inconsistent embodiment. That is an attempt to integrate. That is not true embodiment. So go through your list and actually put a tick next to the things that you're like, yes, I 100% embody this. I 100% show up and act in integrity with this every single day within my business, right? And then honestly look at that list, and it can be quite confronting. It can be quite confronting to look at that list and have to actually acknowledge and take responsibility of the fact that you are not truly embodying who you have been telling yourself that you're embodying,